Good evening and Happy New Year. I would like to call this January 3rd meeting of the Public Works Committee of the Common Council to order. Tonight we have with us Tom Livingston, Nora Najelski-Eichner, Lisa Shanahan, and Brian Meek. Not with us tonight is Darlene Young, although she may try to make it. Public input is the first item on the agenda. Do we have anyone signed up to speak? I do see someone's got a hand up.
We do. I'm going to unmute right now.
Okay.
Diane?
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, first of all, I hope and I wish all of you a good new year. 2022 had a lot of challenges. So I'm here tonight just to continue encouraging the city to take a look at the discussion items C and D. The first is waste and recycling, the report, a status of what I wanted to know is what is the status of the waste management coordinator and recycling coordinator. If it appears that that I'd just love to know the status, but we have to pivot if the wording just is not doing it or the amount of money, then the city needs to rethink how this particular important position needs to be dealt with. I know, so I look forward to that. I believe that this position is very important. It costs, as you can see, over $1 million for waste in the budget, for 4.7 million. And then about 1.3 million for running the recycling program. So this is not just an afterthought, of course. We need to make sure that we have people that have the background to understand what's going on in the waste management business. A lot of things are happening, including China's beginning to consider reaccepting some of the materials as long as they're cleaner. How do they become cleaner? Through education and to recycling right. This city has been missing the boat on some grants, but also on realizing the income that we could have gotten for $17.50 that were negotiated by the city years ago in the original contract for recycling. But because we don't recycle right, and we don't have creative ways to remind people how to recycle right, including making sure we work with new ideas about swap shops, things that other towns are doing. I've brought this up before with your predecessor, Ms. Smith, and their predecessor. So I'm hoping that there is really going to be a think outside the box mentality, even if you do not have someone in place yet, and you may announce it tonight. I think that this city needs to take a look and begin right away. There are things you can do, including hiring a consultant to do waste auditing, because whoever's in the position will need to do that to make sure we're optimizing our waste streams. On the food scrap recovery, I just wanted to say that I took a look at the numbers, and I think some of the percentages don't add up between transfer station and Rowayton, and I was wondering how Cranberry is going. But without creative outreach and education and utilizing the public to help you carry on the message, we will never reduce our money, and it's very expensive to run our waste management programs. Of course,
Thank you, Diane. You're over 3 minutes now. If you could wrap up, please.
Yes, and again, happy holidays. I look forward to working and advocating for all that I know you care about with this particular department. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Laricella. Is there anyone else who is signed up to speak?
No, there's not.
Okay. All right, so I'll close public input and move on to new business. The first item is to approve the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting of Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. Do I have a motion? Mr. Livingston moves the item. Are there any changes, additions, deletions, edits? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Shanahan abstains. Okay, so that is 4 in, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Moving on to the next item, I'll read item 2A and 2B together.
Madam Chair, excuse me a second,
Yes.
and maybe this is an appropriate question, but Lisa, it says you're at the meeting. You're muted.
I was looking at my calendar and I thought I had a conflict, so I guess I was there. Never mind. I voted
I
in
think
favor.
you were here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think you were here. Okay, so
I think
she's in favor.
I think
So
it was the meeting
unanimous.
before that you and
Yeah.
I were both absent.
Yeah, sorry. I was.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty, thank you. Thanks for, I didn't.
Okay. Good catch. Your attention to detail, Mr. Livingston. Excellent. Excellent catch. Ms. Shanahan, just knowing where you're at, right? Okay, moving on to items 2A and 2B. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Ferguson Electric Company, Inc. for State Project 102-360 Norwalk Traffic Signal System Upgrade Phase 4, FAP 1102, CN 123 for an amount not to exceed $3,125. Wait, is that a typo? Is that
3 million.
and 3 million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, $3,125,192. Account noted. And 2B, authorize the Director of Transportation, Mobility and Parking to execute orders on contract with Ferguson Electric Company, Inc. for State Project 102-360 Norwalk Traffic Signal System Upgrade, Phase 1, FAP 1102, CN 123 for an amount not to exceed $312,519.20. Account noted. Do I have a motion, please? Ms. Nadjelski-Eichner moves it. This is a 100% funded grant funded through the Department of Transportation for signals on East Avenue and West Avenue. And I believe Mike Yosick is going to speak to that for us. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Basically, this is for the replacement of 4 traffic signals. 2 of them are in East Avenue at Sunset Hill and East Avenue at St. John's, and 2 on West Avenue at Garner and West Avenue at the Grace Baptist Church. We received 3 bids for this. The low bid was Ferguson Electric Company. I just wanted to note that there were diversionary signs included in this project that will be removed. And we're just waiting concurrence from DOT also. So if you can approve it as noted, that'd be great.
Mr. Livingston has a question.
Yeah, I'm just curious, Mike. If this is 100% funded, how come we couldn't do alternate A or these diversionary signs? I mean, how does it work?
Well, basically, the alternate the project was funded with about 2.7 million. The state has gone back and found additional funds to cover the difference for the project. The diversionary signs were the administration didn't want those added to the project. They felt that it put state traffic on city roads, and so those are being eliminated from the project.
So really the answer is then that the cost have gone up, and so we couldn't do like the alternate A then, right?
That's correct. Yeah, the price of signals and the price of steel has just gone up enormously in the last 2 or 3 years. Now signals are costing. This is 4 signals for $3 million, almost $3 million. It's about $700,000 a signal.
Wow. Okay, great. Thank you.
Ms. Nadjelski-Eichner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very quickly, I believe that it should be phase 4 on item 2B, not phase 1. Is that right? The 2 items just don't line up, and I just.
I
wanted to
believe
confirm.
looks like a typo to me. Yeah, that looks like a typo to me.
Great. I just, yeah, wanted to flag
Is
that.
that-
In case you want to correct it. The other thing, just, and I apologize, this is since I am new to this still. Could you just say a few words about why I understand that prices are going up, but what are we getting for $700,000 per signal? Could you just give me and the general public some understanding of kind of what goes into a project like this?
Oh, sure, absolutely. It's all, it's conduit controllers. It's the new, the mast arms, the signal heads, the video detection, the communication back and the, the integration into our system back at City Hall.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Meek?
Thanks. So my question's around the scope of the project. I was curious why you have St. John's and then Sunrise Hill, but what about Eversley and Colony in between? Are those lights going to be synchronized along with the new lights that get put in on East Avenue?
Yes, St. John's is being, coordinated with the Walk Bridge project, which will be replacing Myrtle and Fitch and Winfield. So all those signals will be coordinated. The DOT has been working on a project for the I-95 ramps, and and I think I misspoke and said Sunset. This is actually Eversley.
This doesn't include Eversley or Colony. I mean, I'm just asking as a me, as a constituent, I mean, like, those are the lights that just turn red for no reason, and everyone's hit them, right? So are we going to try to get some throughput between City Hall and St. John's to get traffic moving more freely, or is it just the lights and we're going to leave the impulse points at Colony and Eversley intact?
There's I'm not aware of a signal at Colony. I think Hendricks maybe.
Yeah, you're right. It's well, I guess it's Hendricks. I guess that's the state's one, but Eversley is ours, right?
Eversley is ours, and Eversley is the one included in this project, not Sunset. Sorry if I misspoke before.
Well, the bid documents say Sunset. Well, Sunset right in front of City Hall, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was an error in the memo. But it's Eversley at East Avenue.
Okay. That should be changed for the final vote, Barbara. You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have two typos that we have found. So you're referring to 1, 2, 3, 4, line 4 of the memo, where it says East Avenue at Sunset Hill, and that should be changed to Eversley. Okay.
I apologize.
That makes a lot more sense right now. I was just trying to figure out why we're not doing that one in the middle. Okay. Thank you.
And they'll all be coordinated, and we're trying to do a master project for adaptive on that whole corridor.
Okay, are there any more questions? Everyone have everything cleared up? Okay, I'll call for a vote then. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, items 2A and B passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Moving on to items 3A and 3B, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Burns Construction Company, Inc. for the project PM 2023-2 permanent pavement repairs and surface restoration for an amount not to exceed $488,020, account number noted. And 3B, authorize the Chief of Operation and Public Works to execute orders on contract with Burns Construction Company, Inc. for project PM 2023-2 permanent pavement repairs and surface restoration for an amount not to exceed $48,802, account noted. Do I have a motion to move those items, please? Mr. Livingston moves them, and I believe Dan or Drew, one of you will. take this one.
Barbara, I'm gonna speak to this item. Good evening,
Okay,
everyone.
thank you,
Thank
Dan.
you for being here. Happy holidays to all. So this program, for those of you who may not be familiar and the public, this is coordination with our permit portion of the engineering department when, whether it's utilities or property owners, develop or improve / repair utility lines in the public right of way that we manage. So we've identified something in the vicinity of about 250 separate activities that need to be performed generally to avoid future potholes and provide a permanent roadway surface or right-of-way surface, whether that's grass or sidewalk, for the public after that work is performed. So we received 2 bidders. We're happy that the costs came in lower than what we expected. What that also means is we utilize those dollar amounts to set our rates for when people come in for permits to perform work, and they do the temporary repairs, and then this is the permanent repairs to ensure that the traveling public and the taxpayers are protected from future problems at those locations. Any questions?
Mr. Meek, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what locations? Is that on the sideways schedule here?
No, the locations aren't specifically on the sideways schedule, Brian. That's a separate list that's provided in the bid. So, you know, if a property owner or developer, you know, looks to put a sewer lateral in or something like that, and they trench across the street, that location would be temporarily restored by their contractor. A fee would be collected by the city, and then this work is performed by the city's contractor that we're recommending, which is Burns Construction, to permanent restoration. So these locations are throughout the city of Norwalk as that work occurs, and generally is restored to the permanent condition within 12 to 24 months, depending on when the permit and activity occurred.
Thanks. So what period of time does this cover? This looks like CapEx, but don't we ordinarily have monies budgeted for this type of activity?
No, this isn't for city from city funds. This is activities performed by property owners or the utilities for that. So we collect fees, and then we perform the permanent restoration at these locations. There's no cost specifically to taxpayers other than when it comes from the utility or the property owner performing.
So this is revenue neutral. So where is the offset go for the 488,000? Does that come back into like permitting fees or?
That comes back through permitting fees, correct? That this money and that account number listed, the 03 account on the contract or recommendation here, is where that money resides and comes from. So there's the collection of fees. This money has been collected. Now we're obligated to perform the work. And that's why we put this contract out on a semi-annual basis once we've collected a sufficient number of locations and seek to get a contractor to restore those.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Brian.
Any other questions on this? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? 3A and B carry unanimously. Moving on to 4A. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Reliable Excavating Company for project RD 2022-2 curb and sidewalk for Senga and Morton area for an amount not to exceed $774,993.65. Account numbers noted. And item 4B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on contract with Reliable Excavating Company for project RD 2022-2 curb and sidewalk for Senga and Morton area for an amount not to exceed $77,499.37. Account numbers noted. Who would like to move that, please?
I'll speak to that again, Barbara. Thank you, everyone. So this
Thanks, Ms. Shanahan. Ms. Shanahan moves the item. Thank you, Dan. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt there. Yeah, so this project is one of the projects as we identify streets that are looking to be paved that we do our pre-work. So whether that's drainage and curb for drainage work and restore sidewalks as necessary in those areas. So this location is the Senga and Morton neighborhood. There's various avenues off of that from A to E. And at the end of the day, this project's going to connect Taylor Avenue to Scribner Avenue below, I-95, for those that may not be familiar with the exact location. So we're looking to install the concrete curbing. We coordinated with our transportation, mobility, and parking department to recommend as part of the project a crosswalk on Scribner that will include a rapid flashing beacon there. And I mean, there's other work to make sure that this transitions to the abutting properties out there. We were very happy that we received 6 bidders and the project cost, initial cost, minus any contingency that may be necessary, was below our estimate for this work.
Thank you, Dan. If I'm not mistaken, this is really to improve walkability in a congested area and safety for pedestrians. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, there's also a public bus route that it goes through this neighborhood. So obviously, giving people an alternative means of transportation to get where they're going safely.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Mr. Meek?
Yeah, I see the bid documents mention all the line items on the drainage. I mean, I'm not going to hold you to this, but isn't that the lion's share of the problems in the corridor? Is the subgrade needs to be built up, pipes relayed? I mean, are we going to get any sidewalk out of this, or is it just going to be mostly drainage replacement?
So this is substantially sidewalk and curb work, Brian. The contingency or the small allowance that we put in there for drainage work in specific catch basin or manhole relocations is related to building a uniform edge of road out there. So sometimes those assets need to be realigned to the final alignment of the roadway. So this neighborhood has parking in the shoulders, but sometimes our roads go in and out a little bit. So as part of our program, we're making a more consistent road width as we can. And ultimately I think your question about the base material, our paving program for this neighborhood would likely be reclaiming, so grinding up the asphalt traveling surface out there. Several utility projects preceded this, and that neighborhood is in need of paving, which is why we're proceeding that activity with this curb and sidewalk. Does that answer the 2 questions you have?
Yeah, I guess I mean that would we do the drainage and sidewalks before the subgrade in the road. Okay.
Correct.
But
Yep.
it's a much bigger project than just this $500,000. If
Ultimately, yeah,
Taylor
there's
Ave looking right.
Can you repeat that?
I mean, if we're gonna get Taylor Ave completely upgraded, this is just a down payment on all of that.
So the correction is just, and it may be my wording here where I describe this project connecting Taylor Avenue to Scribner is the work substantially is on Senga and Morton between those 2 destinations on either end.
Okay.
So Taylor and Scribner are in good condition. I don't have the exact numbers for those, but those are not planned to be paved as after this project. So specifically the Sangamon Morton streets in particular, plus the adjacent avenues as they cross the street is the area that this project is concentrated on.
Oh, okay, thanks. I guess it's cheaper than one traffic light, so that's okay. Thanks.
Okay, yep.
Ms. Nadjelski Eichner.
Just very quickly, I'm sorry, I'm on typo patrol today. In the memo on the 1 to 3rd paragraph, it says the apparent low bidder is contractor name. So it would be great if we could put reliable in there before it goes to the full council.
That would be my fault. Yeah, we
No worries. No worries.
pre-form those, but yeah, that's.
No, and I'm a big fan of pre-formed memos. It saves everybody time, but I just wanted to catch that. And then I wanted to thank you very much for doing this work. I was actually driving through that neighborhood last week and thinking, gosh, I wonder when this is on our repair schedule because it's in really bad shape. So I'm super grateful for the work here and thank you for getting. I'm also really pleased to see so many bids. That's terrific news. So thank you. I know you guys have been thinking about how you can break projects up to increase our bidders, and I really am thrilled to see that that's coming out in the results. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll let our team know.
Are there any more questions or comments? Okay, let's vote on this. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, items 4A and B are unanimous. Item 5, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to sign an agreement between the city of Norwalk and Van Ness Hangen Bruslin Inc. Pavement Management Software, SAMIS, first year fee, $19,210, recurring annual subscription and support fee, $4,000 to be paid out of the existing PO with VHB Inc. account numbers noted. Do I have a motion, please? Shanahan. And then Drew, I believe you will be talking to this item.
Yes, so SAM
Thank
is a software that VHB proposes. They do it's the next version of the software that we've been running. We've been running the same software for pavement management for a long period of time. It's not browser based, and it's based on an add-on to ArcGIS. And so the trouble is keeping up with all of the new versions of ArcGIS. And so they've managed this new browser-based system that's independent of ArcGIS, so it's not reliant on being up to date with ArcGIS software. So we do plan on keep using the same software in parallel with this. What this SAMIS software does is not only does it give us a browser-based pavement management system, but it also allows us to coordinate with our sidewalks. We do have within the same software an inventory of all of our sidewalks within the urban boundary and within extensive business areas that show the limits of what materials we have and what to expect on each street. So it's more important now more than ever for us to anticipate any sidewalk improvements that are needed along with our paving in conjunction with one another so that we could coordinate our sidewalk and paving updates simultaneously.
Thank you, Drew. Are there any questions? Mr. Livingston.
Yeah, thank you. So Drew, just to be clear, this is really, it's an inventory of our sidewalks and what they're made of and where they are. Is that basically it?
It does have a GIS interface so that we could see both we'd be able to see sidewalks on one layer and our pavement management plan on another. We'd be able to see our whole paving forecast. And so it's basically the same tool that we're currently using. That's an add-on to ArcGIS. But as I said, our system on ArcGIS is limited in its life expectancy because they can't keep up with the newer and newer iterations of ArcGIS. Our current system relies on our compatibility with Esri software, which is a completely independent. That Esri software is our GIS software, and so the Esri company.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just so what do you actually use it for?
This is to come up with our entire pavement management program. So what it does is it allows us to budget how much money we'll need in order to keep up with the pavement condition index. It gives us a benefit value associated with the streets that we select to pave. There's a higher benefit value of doing minor and major arterial streets, getting them resurfaced before they reach a point of so much deterioration that it costs more money to fix it later on. So it's a powerful tool that allows us to identify not just the roads that are in the worst condition and in need of paving the most, but also balancing the benefit associated with keeping up on main roads like East Avenue or West Avenue. You know, there's going to be a much higher weight on those through streets that are very well traveled than there will be on a dead end street. So there are weights and measures associated there, and every year we get a survey of all of 25% of our streets, so that every street we have an evaluation of the condition and all the distresses that exist on every single street throughout Norwalk. So we know how extensive the cracks are. We know how extensive any kind of base failure exists out there. So independently, VHB, under our contract with them, they conduct an evaluation, and all of that data that they collect gets entered and downloaded into this system and plays a significant factor anytime we're looking at, okay, what are the next streets that are next priority beyond our current budget forecast.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? Okay. It sounds complicated, but essentially it's the process through which you evaluate, you monitor, you track what needs to be done.
Yes, it's a very objective system, and we have objective evaluations of all our streets by third-party consultants. So you know, there's yes, a lot of objective evaluation, and it's all towards stretching our dollars as far as they can go.
Great. Okay. No other comments, questions? Okay, let's call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Item 5 carries unanimously. And that is the end of our new business. So let us move on now to information and discussion. First, item A, metrics of accomplishment. Paul, I believe you're going to go over that with us.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and Common Council members. I can go through each one of the areas and kind of give you the highlights of what took place. And we'll start off with the paving metrics for the year 2022. Basically, we in 2021 did 29 roads. In 2022, we did 49 roads. The linear foot paved in 2021 was 41,331. And in 2022, it was 50,211. Center lane miles paved, 7.83 in 2021, 9.51 in 2022. And the tonnage that was put down in 2021 was 21,593. In 2022, it was 19,399. And the reason for that is, even though there was more streets done, some of the streets might have been a little smaller, so the tonnage that got put down was a little less. But to give you the overall percentage difference from 2021, number of roads, it was a 59% increase. Linear feet paved was 21% increase. Center lane miles was 21%, and the tonnage was -10. And I can go on to the next for concrete sidewalks if you'd like, or if there's any questions.
Any questions on paving? Tom?
Well, this is probably a general question. First off, Paul, this is terrific. I think it's really helpful to see this kind of information laid out this way. If it's not too much trouble, if I can ask, maybe we can go forward, you can put in the dollars the next time as well, is that what the difference costs, how much money we're spending year to year?
Okay, we can add that.
Be great. But anyway, I think it's really great. Thank you.
Okay, add that for next time. Concrete sidewalks.
Oh, sorry, just real quick, Paul, and I agree with Tom, this is super helpful, but just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, so where you note 3 places where the scope of work is remaining, that's essentially the weather, you ran out of time with the weather, and those 3 will be finished when the weather improves later this spring?
To be carried over, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is a very helpful report.
Okay, concrete sidewalks. And basically in 2021, there was 2.249 miles. In 2022, it was 4.222 miles. And the percentage difference was 87.7% increase. And you can see the streets on there, but that was the easiest way to break it down, was in the miles versus the linear feet, although you can see the linear footage is on there also if anybody is interested in that. Any questions on sidewalks? And we'll add the dollar value to Tom to this.
Yeah, just I have a question, Paul. You've essentially doubled the concrete sidewalks. Is that purposeful, an increase in the concrete sidewalks that we have in the city, or did it just happen, because of having to delay projects?
I think basically it was just more work. We were able to get more work done. And Dan, if you've got anything you wanted to add to that, Dan? and Drew?
Yeah, I'm available, Paul and Chairwoman Smith. So basically what we were able to do from, when I started in March, we had a contract with Grasso. They were performing work. Some of that work carried over from 21 into 22. So if you kind of, let's say, smooth those out, it's a little more even between the 2 contracts. All of this work that we're able to perform is a direct result of the budget that we're given out there. And our aim, as Drew indicates with the paving program, is to make sidewalks in a state of good repair, throughout the city as it intersects with the paving program. So when we request our budget, we're going to ask for, money to keep up with the amount of paving that our program indicates that we need to perform to keep our pavement conditions in good shape. And then ultimately that money that's provided for, sidewalks is going to give an improvement to the sidewalk conditions commensurate with that dollar amount. We try to stretch it as far as we can in a linear fashion and perform, work for the city in preparation for that paving program.
Thanks, Dan. Drew, did you have something to add?
I think Dan pretty much covered
Okay.
is mostly to keep up with our paving. So it just so happens that the roads that we intend to pave now have a lot more sidewalk work in need of repair. We don't want to pave the road and leave zero reveal on the curbs, have drainage issues because the sidewalks and curbs are in disrepair. So it's just that we've postponed these streets because of the higher expense up to this point, and now we're at a point where we have to do something in some of these neighborhoods, like the Ohio neighborhood that we just did, Ohio Center, Plymouth. We couldn't really pave those streets until we fixed the drainage and the sidewalks first. So there was a lot of work that had to be done there in anticipation of paving, and we're just trying to go in the proper order.
And
Okay,
once again,
thanks.
the reason for 2 contractors trying to keep up with all of this work rather than just going with 1 contract like we had done in previous years too. Storm drainage. And I'm gonna just put the caveat so that everybody's aware of this too. This is more of the general drainage type of work. It is not the big drainage projects. It is the work that's in preparation, once again, for paving prior to the paving work being done. In 2021, there was 17 catch basins installed and 2,658 linear feet of pipe installed. In 2022, there was 47 catch basins and 4,009 linear feet of pipe installed, so that you can see the difference from 2021 was about, for the catch basins, it was 176% increase. Difference in the linear feet of pipe, it was a 51% increase. And Tom, actually, this one did include the cost on it, and you can see the difference of 251, 765, 78 for 21. 2022, there was 1,512, 424, 51. Any questions on the drainage at all?
Ms. Nadjelski Agner?
Thank you, Chair. So I just, and this relates, I think, a little bit to the previous sidewalk amounts as well. I think I'm trying to understand just a little bit. These are improvements to what we already had, right? I mean, some of the sidewalks are replacement, but the drainage in particular, this is taking things that were not draining well and putting in new, right? So this is not, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm understanding that we are not just kind of replicating what we had, but actually adding improvements to the quality of what the neighborhoods have, correct?
And that's correct. And when we go out and we evaluate what we're gonna do for curbs, sidewalks, drainage, prior to the paving work, if we see that there's chronic areas where there's what we call a bird bath on the street, that there's a chronic puddle that needs to be picked up, and we can tie it into our existing drainage system, we'll add a catch basin and pipe to tie it into the existing system. It's that kind of work in preparation for the paving. So
So the
usually these are
increase-
improvements.
Great. So the increase in the number of catch basins is not just that we did more streets, but also that you were trying to make sure that the streets that we are doing are sort of at their maximum, sort of, at least at the maximum price point in terms of a return on investment for making them as drain as well as possible.
Yes,
Or is the increase,
exactly.
or is the increase just a factor of where the roads were?
To get it to drain better, so that when you pave the road, we don't have a chronic problem after we've paved it again and leave it there. It's to try and eliminate any of those problems prior to doing the paving work.
Great, terrific. And no, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Drew. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Drew,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to add, we CCTV camera a lot of our existing systems, and in some cases we'll have corrugated metal pipe that is completely corroded and gone. So that's important for us to identify and replace in its entirety when we find those issues. So there's improvements, like Paul was stating, and sometimes there's just the need to replace the existing infrastructure because it's deteriorated. But we have the tools needed to identify those issues in advance.
Great, thank you.
And one of the big problems, just so that you know, I know you were asking about how some of the engineering and the paving program works. If we were to leave a pipe that's corrugated metal, like Drew had said, and it's rotted out, and we pave the road over time, you're going to get the water in the drainage system washing out some of the earth around the pipe, and that's what would lead to a sinkhole. And we obviously don't want that on a brand new road, any road at all, if we can avoid it, but especially a brand new road.
Right. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it. So it makes a lot of sense. It's very comprehensive.
Okay. Permits.
Mr. Meek has a question.
Yeah, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I hope this is rhetorical, and I'm remiss in some of the WPCA meetings, but I know they have a lot of line work that they're doing. I mean, I'm hoping we try to build some synergies there and hang as much on their balance sheet as possible instead of ours. Can you comment on any of that?
Obviously, any of the work that's done through WPCA has to be related to the sanitary sewer work. And we talk with Ralph Kolb and WPCA every day. And through getting some of the CCTV work done for the storm drainage, if there's areas that need to be done, Ralph is doing that ahead of time for sanitary sewer work also. And if he knows that there's work that needs to be done because of those TV results that we see, obviously he tries to get that work done before we go pave also. But we can't just do storm drainage out of WPCA funds. So that's why they're separated, because obviously the sewer user fees are specifically for sanitary sewer.
Right, but if they dig the hole, we can jump in on it, right?
Oh, if there's something like that that we can work together, yes, we'll try and coordinate a project where we can, definitely.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Actually, can I just ask one more question that reminded me? So I know that we've been working on trying to separate the sewers, the sanitary and the storm. Were any of these projects this year or any of the projects coming up, projects where we were able to increase the amount of separation between those two systems?
I believe that some of them were. And Drew, do you have any comments? Because I know you were working on a couple of them that I've heard you talking about specifically. So
Yeah, we had significant separation that we did in the Ohio Plymouth Center neighborhood. And also to the point of WPCA, on the Dreamy Hollow project, there's a lot of sanitary sewer improvements that we're making in conjunction with the drainage improvements in that area. So that's an area where WPCA and DPW work together in the same project. They fund their portion of the work, and our capital funds fund the other portion of the work. So we definitely identify what portion is WPCA versus our DPW capital funding, and distribute payment accordingly.
Thank you. And that's great news about the separation. I know that that's a big sort of environmental goal, as well as a funding or cost one. So thank you.
definitely, anytime we come across any of those, we definitely try to do anything we can do to separate them. Okay, any other questions? I'm gonna go on to permits. Okay, in 2021, you'll see we issue different types of permits. I'll just go over those. Encroachment permits is general work in the right of way versus a driveway permit. So if somebody's doing a sewer lateral replacement, like we were talking about before, that would be an encroachment permit and sewer permit. And then driveway permits are specifically for driveways. And you can see in 2021, there was 470 encroachment permits. 2022, there was 576. Driveway, it was 170. Driveway in 2022, it was 164. So the total was 640 in 2021. In 2022, it was 720. So it gave us an increase of 18% on encroachment permits issued. Driveway permits was a little less, -4%, but the overall difference in the number of permits from 2021 was up 13%. Plan reviews that we come in where we have to make comments in order to get the plans by the developers or property owners up to what we need them to have on paper in order to issue a permit. Those plan reviews, 2021, there was 47, 2022, there was 47. And you can see the plan reviews received, 21 was 75 and 2022 was 79.
Paul,
Mr. Livingston?
I'm sorry, what does that mean that you got more plans received than you approved? Does that mean they're denied or dropped, or can you tell?
There's a variety of different things where in some cases they had to go back and get redone. Sometimes the developers decided to withdraw them, and some of them are still being worked on.
Okay, so those numbers are unique.
And this
Yeah.
is a snapshot from January 1st to December 1st of 2022. So there might be other ones still being worked on that have to be revised and completed. Developer has been given comments on them, and then they have to make those changes and then come back with a new set of plans. So they're not ready to do that yet or haven't done it yet. So that's why you see some of the discrepancies there.
Gotcha, thanks.
And then we've got trees is next, unless anybody else has any other questions on the permits. Okay, in 2021, the spring cycle, we had planted 26 trees. Spring cycle in 2022, we did 171. Fall was 93 in 21. Fall in 22 was 230. The total in 21 was 119. Total planted in 2022 was 401. Spring cycle difference is an increase of 558%. Fall cycle is an increase in 147, and the total difference was 237%.
Terrific. Ms. Shanahan.
I know she's going to have some questions, right, Lisa?
Well, first of all, I have some congratulations because that's just the great trend, and we're really happy to see the number of trees expand in that way. But you guys always know that I'm curious about the trees that are gone missing, you know, the ones that we're losing. So are we keeping tracks of that too? Like, I know this is the metrics of success, but what about the metrics of, you know, destruction?
Mr. Torrey gives his monthly update, and that'll be coming up in the update on that.
Okay, so we're going to keep those numbers separate. We're not going to report them on the same. I mean, in some ways, it would be great to see them kind of together.
We can put them side by side next year when we go through it. We can put them side by side so we see it. I know we usually compare them, and Chris we've been doing it each month where we'll do the removals and the prunings first and then do the replacements. And I'll let him talk about that when we get to the section B.
Yeah, I just think there'd be, you know, it'd be great to have it all on one page, which would be great, but it's still fantastic news and we appreciate it. Is a lot of the increase due to the ARPA funds that we're putting in trees, or is this also just all, you know, our budget doing more work?
But basically budget, we were able to stretch the dollars a little further, plus it's more money. With the ARPA funding that we've had, plus the grant funding, one of which you were responsible for, we've had more money this last year than we've ever had to work with. We've gone from some years where we had $50,000, one year where it was 10, in another years where we had 65, and then now we're so much further, as the mayor had said, it's over $1 million now that we've had to work with going forward. So it's a combination of a lot more money and then trying to get more done too.
It's great.
Any other
Congratulations.
questions with that? And then on the last page, you'll see there's some just charts basically to show you the numbers of what we just went through and talked about.
Thanks, Paul. This is great. It really is to be able to see it. Yeah, it's terrific. Thank you.
And this just so you obviously is for all of the projects that are consistent year to year that can be compared. This doesn't count any of the other one-off projects, things like that, bridges, those types of things where we've done other work on those too.
Hey, Paul, just a note, your chart says miles of sidewalk completed. Is that the concrete sidewalks versus all sidewalks?
Yes, I believe that's everything that was included. It was everything. I
To
think
that
it's
point,
called.
those are just concrete sidewalks separately. We are working to tabulate the bituminous sidewalks that the paving.
Yeah, that would be nice to see
performed
too.
also.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
All right, add bituminous. All right, we'll add those to the metrics for the next time.
Great, thanks.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Yeah, like I just did my driveway and it would have looked stupid if I didn't do the footpath, which I paid for. But do you guys add in that 100 feet of footpath to your data, or take credit for it if you want? It's there.
Yeah, we
Thank you very much,
actually did a
Brian.
lot of footpaths this year, the bituminous footpaths. We replaced a bunch of sidewalk and widened it on Philo Street. In the spring, we're gonna do the portion of Flax Hill Road that we just paved from Darien to Highland Avenue. We put a new bituminous sidewalk along half of and replaced existing on the other half at Hunter's, right near the school there. And I know we've got some other improvements that we're looking to make on Richards Avenue come spring. So we have done a significant amount of footpaths on Soundview Avenue as well. Added some connectivity to get to Highland Avenue, where we have a couple of schools. So.
But to answer your question, Mr. Meek, no, that piece that you had done isn't included in these numbers. This is just DPW related projects that were done.
Okay. You could take credit for it if you want. It doesn't cost me anything else.
Footnote, Brian, plus Brian.
Plus 100 feet.
No, everyone can contribute a part to the success of the city.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Definitely. And that's it for the metrics, unless anybody has any other questions.
Great.
We will take your notes and we will add them. We'll add them to the next
All right.
time and add that information.
Are we sure
Thank you,
no one
Paul.
else wants to talk
Okay.
about the metrics?
I think we're all set,
Positive?
and then we'll segue to you, Chris, for the.
We have to
tree
make a motion
operations
to
program.
not talk about metrics anymore? Oh, okay. All
No
right,
motion needed.
So, trees removals. I do not have an exact number, Ms. Shanahan, but I can tell you with 100% certainty that we planted more than we removed. The reason why I don't have that number is because we had the windstorm at the end of November and we had the wind in 2 days before Christmas. I can tell you in that sense, we did remove 35,000 pounds of debris from Rowayton. A lot of sand, of course, most of it sand, and the stuff that washed in with the tide, but we did that rather quickly. So I commend my staff for that. That was good work on their part.
Yeah, Tom and I commend your staff too, because we were getting so much good feedback. In fact, even over the weekend, I saw at least 5 people who stopped me to say, thank you for what you did in Belle Island. So I wanted to use tonight to say that to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was extraordinary and so quick.
And I'm
Yeah.
gonna add the thanks from the Village Creek Harbor View East Side folks. I also have had neighbors expressing how grateful they are, how quickly the city came in and what a thorough job you did. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and adding
Thank
on,
you.
because I sent in this note, I mean, it was truly extraordinary. I mean, the flooding had been receded maybe an hour or two, and I saw street cleaners. And it was just amazing. I don't think I've ever seen that so quickly before. And really remarkable. So thank you guys. Thank your crew. Really amazing.
Oh, that was the road supervisors. I wish I could take credit.
Now, Chris, take it.
Like Brian Meek said, Mr. Meek says, I will take credit wherever I get it, but
You're chief
our
of
road
operations.
supervisors reacted honestly. While I was talking in the EOC at that meeting, they were responding already. So
It
kudos
was
to them.
amazing.
They're the best staff anyone can have.
I mean, it's sort of the best advertisement for the city work I've seen in such a long time. Just you guys out there right away cleaning up.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Great job.
So we removed 1 tree in December in parks, 1 tree in the schools, and 5 trees in the city right of way, 3 maples and 2 pines, for a total of 7 trees. Listening to Paul, I think I should also talk. We also had 47 tree requests. A lot of those are for tree removals that we say no. Some of them are tree removals that we say yes. Some of them are just limbs down in the road, and that's every month. So we respond to over 300 service requests in addition to what our staff sees on the road every year. So, I wish I had better metrics like the engineers did before me. You never get to, follow the front group if you're not that prepared. So kudos to you guys. But I will be more prepared next time. I'm a learner. So does anyone have any question on the trees before I move on to my next favorite subject of recycling and garbage? Okay, thank you guys. Unfortunately, I'm just going to start with this. We do not have numbers for Cranberry Park, and the food composting numbers aren't that great for the rest of the city. It was pretty high for Rowayton, 7,200 pounds the city, 7,200 pounds to Rowayton's 15,000 pounds. So you guys killed it, but I'm pretty sure once we get the numbers for Cranberry Park, we will surpass you. Moving on to.
Do you know when we might have the numbers for Cranberry? I'm curious.
Definitely I'm gonna get them to you before the next meeting, because I know you guys are dying to get those. I want to know too, and I want to brag a little bit. So I'm gonna get those numbers to you right away as soon as I can, but certainly for the next meeting, of course, but I'll get them to this committee just because I want to brag a little bit before that.
Yeah. So Chris, I
Awesome.
happened to be at the transfer station today, dropping off my cardboard boxes, doing my my bit. But I did notice that the food compost baskets are behind like 2 dumpsters. They're a little hard to find. Is that maybe a reason why, Rowayton, we can easily find them, but do you think that there's anything to do with that where people it's not in people's minds as they drive by because they're a little tricky to?
We can add some signage, but there's 2 attendants out there all day that are directing people. So we can certainly maybe add some signage that we provided, and that's a great idea, that we probably maybe increase the signage over there saying that that's what we do.
Yeah, it just might be that people who are bringing their cardboard boxes don't think like, oh gosh, I could bring my food waste at the same time, you know, that they, because it's just not seen. It's just a little tricky to see.
You know what? We could also put one of our VMS signs out there with 3 boards flashing, like a little contest of who's doing better, the city or Rowayton.
Okay, the
I
Rowayton's
totally
part of the
do
city,
that.
Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
I have
point,
to
Tom.
say- I
Important
have to say
point.
that, Chris, and I also say, speaking on behalf of Rowayton, I'd like to see us lose. I'd like to see the city.
So would
as a
I.
whole, as a whole,
Yes,
do well.
it is. It's like the movie 300. We're gonna get you. Eventually, numbers win. Moving along real quick with not real quick, but
Nora, do you have a question before
Oh.
we move on?
I do have a question. So I noticed though that there was a huge spike in November, which is awesome. And I hope that part of that is people realizing that they can do something with their Thanksgiving leftovers. But
It's pumpkins.
and pumpkins, yes.
Pumpkins.
But you know, even though Rowayton was quite a spike over the transfer station's number still went up. Was there anything else going on? Have we been doing any advertising? You know, we're clearly doing something right. So what can we do to foster this direction? I mean, those are really good numbers for November.
education, as Diane mentioned early on in this public participation, is education and outreach. I do feel compelled to say it wasn't only Norwalk's fault why the Asian market declined with recycling. The plant handles all of Fairfield County, the same one. So it would be hard to point out any single municipality. I think we all need to do better as people moving forward. So having said that, our curbside tonnage was pretty comparable to last year, down 0.7%. Our MSW tonnage out was up 1.8%. So it was pretty close to last year. I was hoping COVID would, as things got back to normal, those would be better, but they're not. So again, education and recycling curbside recycling is down 4.1%, and at the transfer station is down 8%. So again, we need to get the message out there of how to recycle. I think should be our start. I think we should start from the beginning, and that you can recycle this, you have to clean it. I don't think a lot of people clean the recycling. They just throw it in thinking that someone does it with a hose once it reaches the facility, but that's not the case. So I think that we should roots start this thing and get some education out there. And that starts with a recycling and garbage coordinator that we are working on, but I don't think it's something that we've had people apply, of course. But we are choosing the right person for this job because it's an important job.
Yeah, perhaps we can get an update on that next month.
Absolutely.
Vanessa's back.
And we will
Yeah.
get you an update prior to that. When
Terrific.
we have some interviews or stuff like that, but I don't have anything to report on that right this minute.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Any other questions for Chris? Nope. Okay. I think that's it for us then. Are there any final questions before we wrap up? Comments? Okay, I will take a motion to adjourn. Ms. Najewski Eichner gets it tonight. Okay, thank you so much. Happy New Year to everyone, and we'll see you. Good night.
Happy New
Night.
Year all.
Take care. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.